Click record now.
Sorry, we're recording.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode, another edition of Closing Staff. We have we have graciously allowed you to stay in the store after the shades have been drawn and the registers have been counted out. We don't typically do this. We like never let people stay in the store unless you're listening to an episode with us. So
and technically, you definitely will get written up for it if anyone found out.
We're getting written up. So
hey, I'm the key holder tonight, so I'm the one
yeah.
getting written up.
Yeah, my partners in crime here are not going to tell if you don't. So who I have with me here closing the store to my left, good friend of mine, Distro. Give us a quick little witty one-liner to introduce yourself.
Again. Oh, man.
Come on. You lose.
This is my time to shine. I'm sorry.
Move on. To my right, I have another friend of mine who's closing the store. Tradehold, what was the last good movie you saw in theaters?
Damn, what was the movie I watched?
You lose!
That's a terrible subject for me because I rarely watch movies.
One-liner is a terrible...
Sonic the Hedgehog. There you go.
Too late. Sorry.
Too late. Well, at least I named it.
You're on trade duty. Going back. Sorry.
That's fine.
You're on price change duty now.
Get
your ass on the floor.
You can't just change that up.
Oh, man.
And, of course, I am Cash Wrap. They call me Cash Wrap because... I stand all day, every day in front of the cash wrap.
Oh, the one and only cash wrap.
Helping people,
Getting the cash.
Wrap
it in your hands.
Handle the cash in a wrap kind of way. So, yeah.
Wait, I thought part of it was because you have the skill to rap about cash.
No. Let's not.
2 lines, come on.
We're not going down that path. You are not turning this around on me.
You should have gave him the one-liner.
I'm the one who's in control of this episode, okay?
Don't you dare dictate this.
Don't you dare dictate. Don't you dare put those demands on me, Tradehold, I swear. Yeah, so thanks everyone for joining us for another episode. I think we're probably going to rap a little bit about what we've seen in the news. Most recently, there's been a very interesting influx of GameStop articles in the past month that have kind of been around the experience of GameStop employees in different locations and
specifically interviewing employees
and kind of getting that experience firsthand. A lot of the major publications out there online seem to have done an article for themselves on this. So, us as former employees and chatting with everyone out there who's current and former employees, we thought we'd give a little bit of context from our point of view for what it's worth.
Yeah. Even from being in the leadership standpoint, too. We were leaders at one point, too, so we can kind of have like both sides.
Yeah. So... yeah, sit back and enjoy a little bit of insight we're going to throw at you. So, the articles that we've been reading about have been around, aggressive sales tactics. They've been around...
working conditions.
I think one of the more recent ones I read was the laying off or firing or just the departure of longtime favorite... leaders, district managers, store leaders, regional managers. And so yeah, I mean, I don't know, I think we were talking a little bit about it before, but reading that, there's definitely validity to it. You obviously don't want to discount anything that someone says is their experience, especially in that way. But I guess maybe for me, it's just been so long, but I don't remember a lot of that.
You see, like
seeing a lot of that.
Even with me, I do remember a lot of it. But even like we were talking beforehand, to your point, Cash Wrap, you're saying it almost feels like we don't know if it's because it's the beginning of the year, because the fiscal year's ending like their Q4, or if it's just like that whole trend of them just trying to set themselves up for the rest of the year. But why are these articles coming out of nowhere, just all of a sudden one after another? If it's not IGN, it's Polygon. Or then it's Kotaku. And they're all reflecting off each other. Where it's the same topic.
It's the same topic.
And they have. I don't know if they're interviewing the same employees, but the employees are basically saying the same things.
Yeah, right.
It's all in that same thing. They're saying like they feel like it's been hard with the working conditions, it's been hard with all these quotas or all these these expectations they have on them, and it's hard also too seeing your leadership leave. not being able to see like your team stay intact.
Stay,
And they're also saying too as well, it's not the fact that these people are leaving, is that they're bringing people from the outside in that don't necessarily care about the business, don't know the business, and are less empathetic, and they're basically
more towards the goal and not so much towards
the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, hey, I have this a long time. Like my mentor just got let go. Like my Obi-Wan just got taken out. Qui-Gon just got stabbed by Darth Maul. And now you're trying to ship me off to this other place.
Yeah, trying to pawn me off to some other.
Like it just doesn't feel right. Especially being like at a store like our store, we're very, very loyal to each other. Very loyal to like the culture, and then like our regulars. Even the regulars, I feel, see it.
And like that's the thing. And like reading all the stuff that's come out. Trying to put myself in that position that these employees are in, and what they're describing. Like, you imagine like that store we all worked at back in the day. Yeah, you imagine something like that happening. Like the store leader that trained us and like was doing the thing with us all day, just for one reason or another left. And then we never saw that. So so I'm just trying to think like for myself, like, man, that would have been tough to kind of deal with.
Yeah, if they straight fired him. Yeah, like if he was just like, oh man, like good old level up just got the canned. You're
level
like,
up.
what?
If you're listening to this, I'm sorry, I'm not fantasizing about you just straight getting fired at that time, because that would have been very detrimental for us. But we're just painting a scenario. What if you would have got fired at that time?
Yeah, then Cash Rap would have taken executive power.
He wouldn't let us turn anything.
He would have assumed control.
We would try to get him to rap about cash, and he wouldn't do it.
Assumed power in the worst way. Mm-hmm. You do not want to have given Cash Rap that much power at that time.
Yeah, he would have stalked the whole store with alien colonial marines.
Let me tell you.
We would have done a lot of things differently as far as what games we would have had the entire store.
It would have been very predictable. Customers walked in and was like, what did you want to buy? All I see is aliens all over the store. But we have Xbox and PS3 and PC.
We have options. We have options here, okay? Exactly. I am a console agnostic seller here. But you are playing Aliens no matter what, though. And if it's not Aliens, it's going to be Brink. It's one of the two.
Right now, if it's not Aliens, it's Brink.
I'm going to be hawking both of those games if I was in power. So yeah, level up if you're listening. We are very thankful that we had as much time as we did with you.
Oh, of course, yeah, it was amazing
during that time. But yeah, I mean, just kind of bringing it back to the idea of the morale hit that we would have taken, and that these employees are saying is happening. That's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's really rough, especially with my store. Like, I know towards my last few years with GameStop, I'd say like my last 2 years, like it went from being like at a high point to kind of realizing that you're on a plateau, and then it just kind of just took a nosedive where it's like you kind of saw, like, I kind of see exactly what these people are talking about, where it's all of a sudden this brand new district manager comes in, essentially just changes the whole culture. It's from like Home Depot or like freaking Ross or like, Sprint or something, like, and it's just like these people, like, I'm not saying that they're bad people. I'm not saying that they're not qualified to do their job. What I'm saying is that maybe for that position or for the way they're approaching their position, like, it was just not healthy for the culture. It was not healthy for the employees. It wasn't healthy for anything. Yeah. Like you said, they were very just direct. It was very, I don't care about what you have to say or what you're trying to do. I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are, but why aren't you getting these numbers? Yeah. And at that point, like, even the most skilled, like, professional that, like, can speak to their store, speak to their business, you're put in these positions where it almost feels like you're getting thrown under the bus. Mm-hmm. And at least, like, we've always said, be careful what you wish for. Yeah. Like, we had a district leader beforehand where we were like, oh man, this guy just sucks. But then, like, you get the next guy and you're like, oh man, like, now we're talking. Yeah. Like, this is starting to suck even worse.
I wish I had the
last. At least he knew games. Yeah. You know what I mean? Exactly. At least you could talk to him about a video game. He's played him or something, Yeah. But like, now you go to this new guy and it's like
zero.
What's the new station box?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Where's the game sphere?
X-Play. Where's the X-Play?
The X-Play.
Yeah, right. And I was like walking in. He's just like, "Shouldn't you guys have Halo over here? Oh, you're at the PlayStation wall. Yeah, but where's Halo? Like,
there needs to be more Halo over here.
Yeah, exactly.
I just feel like this is a Halo game. That's where we keep the Switch games.
There's no such thing as the X-Play, sir. I thought you were able to switch it.
Yeah, but it's like moments like that. You sit there and you ask yourself, like, yeah, like, I'm all about my store, I'm all about the business, I'm all about helping out, but, like, you realize that your leadership doesn't give a crap about you. Yeah. And it feels like you said, you're just gonna get thrown under the bus at any option or any, like, first, first win because they've already they have that stigma about you. It's like you're an older GameStop manager, so you probably like have a different mentality that we don't want.
Yeah,
like you're already like you can't teach old dog new tricks.
Right.
Like it's like no, let's just get them out of here.
Let's just get
so
them,
like it almost felt like
it
felt like with at least with like because we were so tight as a district, at least for like the store managers. Like once like that happened, we could definitely feel like there was bounties getting put on us.
Really,
where it felt like oh yeah, this person's next and this person next, and it felt like freaking they were just. It felt like when Vader puts the bounty hunters out for Han Solo, like, it's like no disintegrations, but like, it just felt
all the
like
Star Wars references, just right.
Right.
I love Star Wars references. I love that. That's
so you're sitting there and he's just like, you almost feel like when's next? When's the bounty hunter gonna walk into my store? And I feel like, oh, now is my time to defend myself.
Time.
Like,
go into defense mode.
And it definitely felt like you had to defend your store because, like, to these employees' point, they were doing work, and they were trying really hard for their store leaders, but then their store leader gets let go. And then they ask themselves, like, shit, like, was I, like, that's because of me, or, like,
did I get my store leader
I wasn't
fired?
doing good enough, or, like, I got, like, my mentor fired, you know what I mean? And, like, and it brings morale. Now they have this brand new guy that comes in. Now they don't feel comfortable, like, performing, or they don't feel comfortable, like, let's say learning, because they're like, if the dude I felt comfortable with, couldn't, like, got let go, how's this guy going to be different?
Like, I don't even want to, feel that attachment to this person because look what happened. And now I feel even worse because mentally I feel like it was part of my fault that person's not here anymore.
And I can tell you too,
Yeah,
you didn't perform. It's like, and I can tell you too as well, like, it's the worst feeling, like, being, like, not even, like, as a worker, but, like, as a human, like, having to know that you have to let your whole team know that you're basically you're basically leaving.
Yeah.
Going through people that you see every day. They're like your family, like, you see them more than you see your family sometimes because you're at that store so much.
Because you're there more than any other place.
Yeah, right? Like, and it's like, having to look at them and being like, hey, you know what, like, I'm not going to be your store leader anymore. Like, it's really heartbreaking. And it's not even, like, professionally it sucks, but even like as a person, like they don't understand, like it affects you as a person too. Like having to look at somebody, you see their eyes like tearing up and stuff like that because they genuinely care. It's just like, oh man,
they liked seeing
it goes beyond like the store, and then like they're all about just that number,
What you're describing now, not a lot of store leaders or even like district or regional probably have never, because they've never had built that relationship in store, because a lot of GameStops don't really do that.
They don't have that culture. Like what we had.
But there were some definitely like us. They were out there, and that's one of the things that the articles talked about too, is that there were definitely some people who felt that way.
Yeah.
It's interesting. That's what I feel like. Working conditions is interesting because like when I hear working conditions, like my store, like we never like if they tell me that our working conditions suck, it was nothing we ever did or anything I was doing as a leader. It was always because of say the overall just company wide things that would bleed to your store. Bleed over to like the corporate thing, politics.
Right. Exactly.
But like at some point, like it's basically like if anyone's just like, oh no, this store like was just very unhealthy, all this stuff, I'd be like, what? Like I used to buy you guys jerky, like Red Bull. No, I'm just kidding.
I used to hook you guys up.
But I can definitely see, like I said, the corporate stuff where they're talking about meeting these quotas, or like even like a long time like regulars would go into a store and they say like it felt weird going into a store and then being like, hi, welcome to GameStop, where you can buy your latest smartphone and trade in your local smart devices as well. Or your unused smart devices rather.
And if you have any smart devices,
and then they go up to them and it's just like, they're making me say this. It's kind of like.
Well, so the articles also kind of touch on the aggressive sales tactics that are out there, and I wanted what do you guys think about that?
To me, it seemed like this is one of the reasons I didn't like GameStop before I worked at the ones that we all worked at. Was it felt that way to me when I would walk into one when they were just trying to shove things down your throat, like get this or get this or get this. Okay, you don't want that, get this. And it seems like to me it's circle of life. Basically, they're going back in a loop where it's like, okay, we went a year or not even a year. We went, this so long doing this tactic and it didn't work, so we're gonna loop it back around and get aggressive again.
So especially with the company for 6 years, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Now that's a new circle of life.
It comes in waves. It's
like a different trend, like.
Yeah, because for a while, I think the company. Like perspective and what they were kind of putting out to the stores for a little bit of time there was you don't really have to push any one area more than another, just sell anything. Whereas now apparently from the testimonials we're seeing in these articles, they are back to getting very, very aggressive on particular sales items.
Yeah, very, very specific. Yeah, it's like, why isn't this specific, like area, where it's supposed to be? Or why aren't you hitting this goal?
Right. Why aren't you selling that Halo for PlayStation?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like, where's the Halo?
So we all worked when, the advent of smartphone sales happened and electronic sales, and then loot came around a little later.
Collectibles and everything, yeah.
Do you guys remember it being super aggressive when they started rolling that stuff out back when we were working?
You see, like, I remember it being more so aggressive on the actual, like, membership, so the Power Up Pro for sure. Like that, like, because before, like, I'll tell you, like, the golden age of being a game advisor was all you had to worry about was just showing up, back counter clear. You talk about games, make sure you got a pre-order, make sure that you got to sign up, and make sure those were good.
Make sure those
those remain too. Is like, if you got a card, sweet. If you didn't that day, kind of sucks. Your next shift, you know what, we're going to need you to, like, show. As long as you're showing effort, it felt like you could still be a good, like, game advisor. Because you're there to advise about the games.
Right.
But then at some point, once it started kind of, like, ramping up, and, like, the actual, like, tablets and stuff started coming in, they started doing the deals for, like, hey, Power Up Pro members get this on the tablets or this on the smartphones. Then I saw it kind of being like, no, we need at least this amount of like cards from you.
Sell,
like your number is 3. Your number is 3. How many hours are you working today? Okay, your number is like 5 or 6. Like, are you going to be here like all day? Like, yeah, we need those. Or this is the game. We need these pre-order numbers for this specific game.
Yeah.
And you're kind of just like, whoa, and like you see, it's like, whoa, are we like losing money? Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
like, is
what's
this
happening here?
What's happening? Like, I get it. We're supposed to be pushing these games. That is the name of the game. You are a business. You want to make money.
Right.
But it almost feels like now we're kind of just trying to like tighten up and like being very mechanical about things that weren't as mechanical about before.
Right. Like it like came out of nowhere almost, as far as like the hyper focus on those metrics that they had us on.
Yeah, it's like the ones I always see is like, why isn't your trade for sure, your pre-owned reservations, and then like Power Up Pro, it's like 4 already that you have to worry about. Beforehand, it was just the 2. Maybe realistically just the 1 depending on like the season.
Depending on the season.
Yeah, let's say if it was like the holidays, you're trying to bank on like, rewards cards. You're trying to bank on, like future reservations. Let's say if it's like earlier in the season, like, towards E3, you're trying to get those reservations on there. You're trying to get
holidays, you're trying to get your dollar value.
Yeah, your dollar sale, your net.
Transaction,
But then it became like, now you have 4 different metrics where they're specifically looking at what you got.
Yeah.
Why aren't you hitting it?
And it's funny because if you did good and say 3 out of 4, they'll still look at that 4th when you didn't do good on and say
there's almost no positive reinforcement when it comes to like corporate.
Yeah,
like you had to
they're like, you're at 75%.
Like
we need you at least at 85.
Like your store leader. I mean, our store leader was like very like positive about
very
those
positive.
Like, you hit 3 out of 4, awesome. Way. But anyone above, like district, regional, they were just like focused on that one that you didn't hit the goal for.
Yeah.
So,
level up again if you're listening to this. Thank you, because I know that you shielded a lot of the direct feedback that we got from our district leader,
that's true.
And then kind of filter that in a way that was positive for us as a staff. So
thank you, level up, for sure.
I think if we would have got the direct message from the DM, that would have been very different.
Especially too, is like, I won't take it too level up because I incorporated that, and at least with me being a store leader, and then seeing how much shit you get from like the top down, and then me going out to the floor and being like, I could just unload this right now. Like, I could just hit you guys with like.
Did you do that for your staff?
No, of course, yeah, no. Like, I'd be like, I could just hit you guys with all this that I just took. Like, like, I'm riled up. Like, I can come out here and be like, what the F? Like this, and that. We need this. Everything is changing. I need a new staff. No.
I need a new staff.
Yeah, I would sit there and I would listen to it, and I understand like what my staff was capable of. I knew who they were. I trusted in them. And like, I'd tell them what they wanted to hear. I'd do my best to not be a yes man and still incorporate like my like my standards and let them know exactly what my mission is. But I would would never go to my staff after that and then like put them down or just completely I would find a healthy ways for it to be implemented to where we can grow together.
Yeah.
Or if I just need to be real with them, I treat them like adults too. It's like, hey, I'm not going to treat you like a kid and shield you from the truth. I got to let you know, like, hey, you know what? This is the situation, but we're going to work at it together.
Yeah.
Like, I got you. Like, but it's unfair to me to like not maybe let you know about certain things. But, we don't need to be talking about everything that freaking district manager just told me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like you said, people are people. You don't know what they're going through at the end of the day. You don't know what's going on.
You have no idea.
They're there to work really hard. They're working really hard. And last thing they need to hear is, oh, by the way, like, what happened with those reservations? oh yeah, and I need you to say more like when you're at the register. Oh, and by the way, like this, and that. You know, it's kind of just becomes like this. You know, Like so level up. You're the man. You know.
Well, you know.
Shout out to you.
Speaking of communications, because you were talking about how when there's bad news in regards from corporate to your staff, you have to kind of deliver it in a sense that isn't putting them down.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And right now, then the interviews that they're doing with the 2020 with all the anxious employees is almost the opposite in that sense, because even the stores that are doing well, the employees are like they're anxious because they don't know that the stores are doing well in regards to other ones, because they're focused on hitting their goals.
Their own.
Yeah, the pressure's still on.
Yeah, the pressure's still on, and they don't know. They're just like, oh, am I losing my job? Is my store shutting down? And as the store leader, most of the time the store leader knows, like, no, we're doing really well. We're still good. But the staff doesn't know that.
Right.
So it's like almost
there's a communication breakdown there. And because that I remember that would get us going when we kind of knew how well we did in comparison to the community of GameStop stores in our district. Like it was like a one district, one team kind of thing. And it sounds like now, maybe in the state of disarray that the company's in, they've maybe just siloed more and started pulling within themselves and started, stopped looking beyond the front doors of their own store because they're so hyper focused on hitting their own metrics. That,
it's might also link to the fact that they have new store leaders.
Yeah, that too.
And district leaders too.
District leaders that aren't connecting on that level and not able to communicate to the staff as well because they didn't build that relationship. Right?
Yeah, especially working with the gamers too. Like it's a whole different breed compared to like the crew that I have like right now. You know?
Yeah.
It's like a whole different set of people, like where it's like these people are a little more awkward. They're not as used to confrontation sometimes. Like, yeah, of course, like they're used to, but like, compared to like a district dude or like a corporate dude coming up to them and being like, hey, because at least like when it's a fellow gamer or somebody that you can relate to, you're already related on that level, you know, like you understand,
that, that rapport built already,
Yeah, but I can see how a lot of, like you said, like, like a lot of employees, they're seeing this, they're stressing, they feel like the pressure's on, they're just like, oh man, like, what am I doing wrong, stuff like that. And like, gamers, they're definitely like different, kind of people for sure, like
breed.
very passionate, different, passionate, unique, like
loyal.
we can, loyal, like all these different things that you don't find in a lot of different companies,
Because you can definitely find some of those employees that want to stock a whole game with one game, right? A whole store with one game.
Very, very loyal breed there to their fandoms. Even so much so that if they happened to have given control of the store, may have started, officially pushing a game that probably didn't do very well.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we're going. With the 2000, we saw a lot of articles popping up for GameStop. We talked about how part of the reason is because the fiscal year is starting. New consoles are coming out that will help them survive, and then there was also mentioned that some of the stores are like testing out future GameStops or future concepts for more social, like we were talking about in the previous podcast, that they should do, like in-store tournaments and podcast even. In fact, when we were talking about at the beginning, where we talked about closing shop to invite all these people in. Yeah. Maybe they should think of something like that.
Something like maybe after hours.
Yeah, after hours. Let's sit around, let's chat, we'll make it into a podcast. Yeah. That actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, it sounds very familiar, actually. Of course. Welcome to Closing Staff, everybody. But yeah, the store of the future concept, we talked about it before the episode, but just the idea of what happens when you infuse community into a business like that, and I know there's a small number of stores that have opened in like Oklahoma or something that have like computer stations set up for gaming, like it's almost like a small LAN center. But it's like, is that too little too late at this point?
I feel like it is, because even like we were talking before with our store, like we would try to support the local community. They'd be like, hey, we're running this like awesome fighting, like a Smash Bros tournament, or like this tournament, or we have this event going on, like can we leave you some flyers, or like can you guys help us out and like hype the event, or like can you guys, like, they'll come through, like, do you guys have the game so that we can get a few games and then, like, have them for the tourney and stuff like that? And you're trying to build that community, but then As soon as your district leader will come in, they'd be like, "Oh, we can't have this. Like, oh no, this is not allowed on our counters.
You can't give a game out.
You can't have any marketing. You can't have any of this. Like, you know, it's like unless you're selling them something, like you can't have like, you know, it has to be GameStop associated.
Yeah.
And even right there too, it's just like it made it rough for you to kind of being like, hey, how about you have your tournament in our store?
Yeah.
You know, come through and do it here. We'll separate a spot for you. We'll do like prizes, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's just this really weird, you know, difference of priorities, you know, of the staff that's there in the ground, that's in the community every day and sees what will work and what doesn't work. And then you contrast that with the corporate environment, which is just trying to do a one-size-fits-all mentality for all the stores, not taking really into account what they're seeing in their individual communities. So,
right. See, so think about working conditions, like to bring it back to like working conditions too. Like thinking about my time, at least there as a store leader, like those amount of hours that you're stressing because you're by yourself, you can't even go to the bathroom. You know, because like let's say the line's just out the door and like you need to just, you know, like go number 2 so bad and like you have to wait until like 1:30 or 2 or find find that sweet spot like in between 2 customers or something, you know what I mean? Like, and then like you're sitting there, let's say you're stressed out, you haven't slept, you're closing one day, then you're opening the next day, you know, like
you got the dreaded close to open.
You have your RSBs, you have like, you know, your basically all your distros, you have limited staff too because of the hours, so even if you, because we've talked about before, you have a bank of hours and you have to basically disperse them to everybody. Like you drop them and you have to allocate them accordingly based on your people and all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I can only imagine, like, with me, like, I can be honest, there's times where you're super stressed out there, you're in your back, and you're just kind of like...
And
it's like work's just kicking your ass, you know what I mean? And, like, you're sitting there, like, sure, other places, you know, for sure, but, like, I can only imagine if then now I had to worry about the land station. And then, like, you know, I'm there by myself, like, you know, working it, and there's, like... If I understand if maybe they're regulars and they're really cool, but imagine having that person that will come and just destroy your land station constantly. It's just another thing on top of that where they're not even going to staff the stores accordingly or staff them properly. To where now it's like I could see it work great if you had one person dedicated to making sure the experience was good.
Yeah, one dedicated land employee.
You had your GA and then like your land GA or something where like they were the ones that go around, make sure everyone knew the password, everyone knew all the stuff, and make sure everything was good. As soon as the station was done, they'd go and they'd clean it or something, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've had kiosks that were taking care of, you know, PlayStation and Nintendo and Microsoft reps. Yeah. So technically, they're gonna have a LAN center that actually can have a rep from some other.
Yeah, that's true. But oftentimes too, I can throw our Nintendo rep under the bus. Like, when did I ever see that guy? Or like, you know.
Well, I mean, it'd be a little bit different if they were to try a LAN center because it wouldn't be someone who just comes in once a month.
So you think GameStop would employ like an outside source to also like do the LAN and maintenance?
Well, it would be more like a collaboration. In that sense, yeah, not just completely just employing.
So we'd have like a LAN technician that we'd call, or that would make regular schedule.
Yeah, because
even once a week, like, I think it's doable.
Because even then too, as far as like marketing and stuff like that, how many times have we had a district leader come in and being like, "Why is this destroyed? Why is this like?" Yeah. Oh, because I'm waiting for the LAN dude to come in like Monday. No, like you know, you need to get somebody to fix this up like right now.
You have to take care of that now.
You know, but and that's one of the problems with that too is that. I think we've talked about what GameStop is that they're trying to teach you to do too many things when you're supposed to be a specialty store for video games.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like that's my point, where you feel stretch thin, like just like it's not that we're saying we're incapable as humans to do this. It's just like it's just very difficult.
And you know, I've still am a solid believer that if you have put time in GameStop, any significant time or even not significant time, if you've spent time working there, you are probably going to come out with some pretty awesome skills.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going to be pushed to many different limits that you probably didn't know you had. So every former employee out there, every current employee out there, you guys and gals have our undying support.
Yeah, right, and respect.
And respect. Respect for sure.
We admire yours and our own multitasking skills.
Yeah, right.
You are learning so much more than you probably planned or should working in a retail spot.
Yeah, right. So that being said, we did have really, really, really good experiences too as well. Like I said, I don't feel like the working conditions were just complete garbage.
Yeah, they weren't bad.
You know, I mean, it's just I like the fact though with these articles though that at least these employees are getting some kind of platform to at least voice something, because these are some things that we've been saying for a long time. Besides this whole like conversation of, they make us forced to push this or
right.
All sales aside, I'm talking about like just basic working conditions.
Yeah.
Like them saying that, working at this place isn't always the
right.
isn't always what everyone perceives it to be. It's not this fun game shop,
Exactly.
Like,
and it's not. I mean,
there's some struggles there, and there are some times where you're just like, oh man,
And if you are interested in getting a job there, you're probably drawn in by the idea that it is going to be a fun game shop kind of job. And it doesn't take very long for you to find out that it's not that. It is through and through a business, and businesses have goals and metrics and that sort of thing. Now, how those metrics go about getting measured and analyzed, and how future state metrics are affected with behavioral changes, that's probably where we're seeing a lot of the anonymous complaints that we're seeing in the articles. But I mean, I would definitely go in with a mindset of thinking, like, I'm going to be working. Like, this is a job. It's not any more fun than another job.
You're not going to
just because it's a game store.
You're not going to get employed, and then suddenly you're going to have an hour of free play time.
Exactly. It's not
whatever game in the store.
Yeah, like we have console set up in the back for you to just show up one day and just like start an hour before your shift. You know what I mean? Yeah, like just start playing something.
It is a job through and through. The thing though is that the perks of working here happen to be game related, so
and of course, if you're a gamer, it's definitely
if you're a gamer, then and you're working, you might as well work at a game shop. It's still going to be work, but
right.
But you get to rent a game every now and then or so.
And there's always that the disparity between who gets employed, because
right.
You don't want someone who games too much that they might show up late for work,
show up late, or talk too much about games.
Or buy everything at a discount.
There's a sweet spot. I had an employee who he's an avid World of Warcraft gamer.
Yeah.
And he was able to make time for his clan and his work. And like I've seen it, guys. Really? Like I know I'm not saying anything, but like if you prioritize your time properly, like there's definitely a sweet spot.
Oh yeah,
there's a sweet spot.
Like there,
sure.
Yeah, like absolutely. For sure. Yeah, finding that person that just can talk about games, not too long, but just enough, and that person that still just hardcore games still gets to work.
And still exactly.
So that's just another thing too, is that even if you're like a big gamer and you get to work at a GameStop, don't expect, because the next person or the person that was hiring before you might not even be much of a gamer at all.
Yeah, right.
Because again, there's a sweet spot, but then there's always stores that hire people from completely different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So you might be working with someone who is at the opposite end of the spectrum you're on.
Of your own,
where he's like, "Can you stop talking about games? I'm trying to work."
Trying to work here. Trying to make this sale or whatever it might be.
We've all had that. Like,
we've all been there. We've all been there.
On a side tangent before we get right back onto topic, because I know we have limited time here.
Yeah.
But, a side tangent, there was a kid that would basically, it was a threat to our store because he would basically run into our gondolas.
A threat to our store.
He would basically... he would run full speed around the store, and our store had just gotten basically like a linoleum or like the new hard floor, So he would basically run, and sometimes he would turn his head and he would just run straight into a gondola and knock everything off it. Just bam! Right? Yeah, and he would do this, and like his mom would drop him off there so she can go off and do something.
Right. Go shop.
Like the usual, right?
Yeah.
But we found out the only thing to stop him from running around the store and like being destructive is if you talk to him. So like, he could go off on Kirby. So we called him the Kirby Kid.
The Kirby Kid.
We're like, oh, Kirby Kid's here. So like, not to be mean, but like,
it's
gonna
be doing laps.
But we already knew. So like, it'd be like one designated person would be there. It was to like talk to that person specifically. Like, I need you to distract him, like until his mom gets back, and then they finally leave. Because he was literally like.
I think that the next guest that we have is going to be called Kirby.
It's going to be Kirby Kid.
Stay tuned, our faithful audience. We will have Kirby Kid on the show.
Yeah,
in one way, shape, or form here soon.
Sure, heard his console ideas, man.
His console ideas.
So,
bringing it back around, I just have one last point. It's interesting seeing like all these like I said, the articles coming out right now.
Yeah,
we were seeing GameStop focus a lot on their sales and like trying to, like I said, cut stores and get rid of district leaders and like regional leaders and all that stuff. When do you think they're going to bring it back around to actually like in-house morale of the stores, where it's actually they're worried about?
Yeah,
because they're probably getting pressure from it now, where they're like working conditions at GameStop is garbage.
I mean, just as we've seen these articles, I'm sure whoever's in charge over there is seeing those articles too.
You think they're going to go into 2020 with more of like an employee care, like like morale point, or you think there's someone at this point where they're like, we don't even care, we just need to get these stores back into shape?
Yeah,
I think
don't know.
My personal opinion is that they're gonna keep on this for probably about 6 or so months until the release of the new consoles. Yeah. Once sales start going back up and they're recouping some money, then they'll start actually be like, okay, we can calm down a bit now. You know, assuming they do well with that.
Interesting.
But because we talked about how often they switch things. Yeah. This is a very possible.
People will stop complaining. We just need to get to the Xbox, and the PS5. Like,
we're gonna be seeing more of these articles. We just need to make it to the console.
Yeah, we just need to push through, make sure no one does anything rash.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I just want to go back to you to Cash Wrap saying it might be a little too late. I don't think it's a little too late for them to kind of turn things around. Yeah. But the only problem with GameStop, and back to the point we were just talking about how wishy-washy they are with just, changing things up, is that for them to really turn things around, they have to commit to it.
Yeah.
Which they don't.
Right.
They never do. They never do.
We don't get a consistent, communication or messaging from the leadership. And if there's turmoil and change and ambiguity at that level, that's just going to set the entire company's staff in a culture of ambiguity and uncomfortability and all that, and not in the good way, in the bad way.
Yeah, right.
So that's already happened.
It's already been like that.
That's why they have to commit to it, because they have to have an actual lasting impression that they're changing.
Yeah.
Not just keep changing. Like they're changing, not not that their policies keep changing.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if they will get a little bit more solid around like a leadership team with one vision for what they want to do with this company and just push that vision through.
Yeah, they need they need to scrap it, circle of life, whatever. We will have that just like on the side. But like they need a new SOP. Just like what are our standard operating procedures?
Just
like
look
what is our mission statement?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what is our main what is our main goal? And then let's just hit that.
Let's throw that messaging out to every store. This is what GameStop is in 2020 and beyond. This is who we are as a company. Mm-hmm. And having that from the top down, that could probably turn it around. Pretty
to where you're hearing it from the regional leader, you're hearing it from the district leader, you're hearing it from the store leader, you're hearing it all the way down. It's like, no, this is our vision, right?
And if it revolves around the idea of customers first, client first, experience first, some of the biggest and best companies lead with that and do well. So we'll see. I don't know. It's those articles dropping all at the same time essentially is just another alarming thing about what we're seeing with this game company that we all love.
Yeah, it's like,
but yeah, for everyone out there who's listening, who's in it now, who's used to be in that game just like we were, it's going to be an interesting year. And for those who are there now, I would say definitely, I think we probably have said it many times when we've ended an episode, but you're doing great work out there.
Hang in there.
You are doing great. Try as much as you can not to feed into the distractions or listen to the distractions.
Don't be the Kirby kid.
Don't be the Kirby kid.
Store leaders, if you offer me that holiday freaking 10% off bag one more time, I'm going to take it and put it over your head. No, I'm just kidding.
No, just to be clear, Distro's not threatening any of you out there.
I'm just kidding. I'm just piggybacking on the whole aggressive sales jokes.
Distro over here just being jolly. That's all.
How dare you, sir?
Don't mind him.
You just brought that into the podcast, did you?
I wanted to put that on record.
Oh man, yeah.
Distro was jolly for this episode, so I think that's
joke, folks.
A little inside joke for y'all. So yes, I think with that we are pretty much ready to close these gates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, these gates are closed. We're ready to kick you out. Unfortunately,
I know we usually let you guys stay a little longer, but we're on a time table here. So.
Yeah, Distro told us that we need to.
I'm key holder tonight. I can't mess around.
Distro's key holder, so we can't mess around. He says our hours depend on it.
We get that call from the alarm company if we stay open too late. You know,
exactly.
And then he's gonna lose his jolliness.
Are you okay?
And then Distro won't be jolly.
Exactly.
All right. Well, from us to you, everyone, it's been great having you. We'll see you in the next episode.
See ya.
Peace.
Please.